an honor to be here with you and to be able to share this story that is so important. So my background in technology, it didn't really start with technology. I was seeing teachers are asked to be so structured and to have minute by minute lesson plans. I needed to structure my lessons to be less structured. Also because I wanted to learn from my students. I think that they have so much to share, and I think that as a teacher, what I learned the most is that you are the learner. When you start coding and when you start programming with them, you start noticing that some of them are so natural and are so good at it and that are passionate about it, and those are the ones that need to go and teach others. And that was kind of like my strategy. And because I didn't know how to code, and then I was like, okay, let's learn together. And when I identify who were the ones that were doing this really good because they wanted it and they just like really were passionate about it, not because just like because of the grade, but because really this is really good. Then I took those girls and we started teaching others, and I saw that effect. The teacher does not have to be the only one that teaches in the classroom. And any kind of like, we created some other structures of like teaching, because we were not teaching at, I was never teaching when it was programming. They were teaching, they were learning how to learn themselves. And what I was doing was really like, if we don't understand it, like, let's read it again, because that's the first problem. We sometimes don't read correctly. So let's read it again. Let's read the instructions. Are we like trying to do it? Then just Google it. Just Google the things and see if we find the answer there. Like, I would say 90% of the times we found that everything that we needed between Google and YouTube. So it was fine. Then if that wouldn't work, we would try as a group to like look at it and try to solve it. If that didn't work, okay, then here is this teacher that will find you somewhere help. Pineapple Woman is a platform that is becoming a community of Latinas all around the world that have achieved very like that have amazing stories, inspirational stories, because they have achieved their dreams. And I have like a story that like it was very sad for me. One of those girls that were like the superstars of like programming in my classroom, she went to school for programming, and when she got there, she just couldn't do it. And when I asked her why, if you were the best one in the classroom, one of the best ones in the classroom, what happened? And she just like, I just couldn't identify. It was just too many people that just didn't look like me. For these women to keep going, that's when I kind of like, I started Pineapple Woman. I was like, we need to support each other, and we need more role models. And then that's Pineapple comes with the idea that we could be dreamers and we could like achieve our dreams, but yes, we do need a mirror. We need to like have someone that we could look up to, and then we will get there. Latinos are not in technology for a reason, because we don't have the information, because we don't, because of the same, because if no one is there, then you don't open the doors for other ones to like know that this is happening. And I think that that's what we do with TECHNOLOCHICAS. We just try to like educate parents, students, teachers, and like all these opportunities that are in technology. We don't feel that we are there is because information. The parents just don't know. So I remember very vividly in a TECHNOLOCHICAS conference, we were talking to like 500 parents, and they were all Latinos. And I remember that we were not getting through the message, and I said to her, we gotta like somehow like snap them out. We were talking with farmers. A lot of those jobs are disappearing, and they don't know this information. So whatever it is that you are at home, I think that is the mirror again that you could see yourself through. And this is where we are not evolving. Everything came back to information, and what information do your parents have? And your parents always will try to do the best for you, but there is a lack of how much do they know. Don't be afraid to be the first one, because just think that if you are the first one, you will be the one holding the door for others to go through. Just ask your students, like, hear their voices to see how do we make this better, because they have so many great ideas. I know that as a teacher, the first person, like the first people that I would go to is my students, and we always together came with a solution. So like ask them, like bring them in the game, and they will give you the best solutions.
Hi, I'm Yadira Valadez. I am a creative technologist at Instrument. A bit about my background. I have a degree in computer science from the University of Colorado Boulder, and I'm currently working on an MBA through the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Currently, my job entitles working in prototypes, proof of concepts, really kind of vision space, really creative, really art-driven. And we work with amazing clients, so I get my hands on a little bit of everything. That there's just not a focus on it because people don't see how intertwined it is. I think there's a lot of people, especially at who do websites, sell certain products. A lot of thought goes into the design of these things. A lot of thought and strategy and intention go into making these experiences unique. And so there's a lot of marriage between art and technology. I wanted something hands-on, and I wanted something that kind of gave me instant gratification. And I think technology does that. I think even just doing a tutorial, right? Like just starting from ground zero, you know nothing, do a quick tutorial on YouTube, or there's plenty of resources out there for it. And then actually getting something live within like a few minutes, even if it's something super simple, has like that instant gratification of I can build things, I can make things. I actually started working under NCWIT, which is the National Center for Women in IT, in which the effort started from. And so I actually worked under NCWIT as a student before TECHNOLOCHICAS actually launched. So it was already in the works, so I was kind of like behind the scenes. So I got really well connected there. And obviously I felt the need for that, not just growing up from my background, but also like even in college, I needed that representation. My university was very traditional in the sense of it was a large student body, but when I would go to my computer science classes, I remember there'd be like 300 students, and there would only be like 5 to 10 women. And then of those women, I would most likely be the only Latina in the class. And so the representation starts really early. Like it's not just in the field, it actually starts a lot sooner than that. I've done plenty of panels, I've done a lot of workshops. I think there was one in particular when I lived in Southern California. We went to this high school, and it struck me that there was a lot of students there that were low income, that were, had difficulties with family and immigration, right? And so it was really impactful to kind of share my story and, be approached by a lot of these girls and being like, I never knew that this was possible for me. Like, I didn't even think college was possible for me. And so that experience definitely like pushed my drive even further. This was, I want to say this was about 2 years ago, but it's still one of the most impactful panels I've ever done, was just that approach afterwards. So it wasn't what we said necessarily, but just that interaction that we had with the students. I had a great support system in high school, so that was definitely an advantage that I had. Was I had counselors that genuinely care, and they were like, you know, you do really well in math and science, like, what about if you think about it? And so that was kind of like the spark of it. And so it wasn't until I took an intro workshop that my university was holding, and that was definitely where it cemented that I was like, this sounds interesting, this is fun. And yeah, there was definitely challenges along the way, but overall my passion that grew from that moment. I've seen from, you know, friends who are also educators that a lot of times their students don't have access, right? They don't have access to computers, they don't have access to certain softwares. But really there's a lot of different ways to approach that. And I think game design is the one that comes to mind the most, because it seems most tangible to kids, right? To students at any age. And a lot of that even dives into just like, let's storyboard this. Like, what would that look like? There's a lot of thinking behind like storyboarding a game. And, you know, I feel like there's a lot of methods to use that don't directly use technology, but have the thinking behind it. One of my favorite things to do with students is really kind of let them unleash a little bit, perhaps in a time box way. It's like, here's like 10 minutes to just kind of go wild. And then it's amazing, like the things that they come up with. I also try to let them fail as much as possible. I think like we don't let students fail enough, and there's this pressure that they didn't get it right on the first time, and so it becomes overwhelming. But I think that that's like one of the skills that's just going to carry throughout school, throughout careers, and especially in technology. You know, like I feel like a lot of technologists, a lot of developers are constantly making jokes about like, oh, we built something and then it has a billion bugs in it, but we got it working. So it's like this, it's just an ongoing habit and practice to like accept your failures, but not dwell in them. Just kind of accept them and move on.
Hi, my name is Karen Shoen. I am from Mexico. I was born and raised in León, Guanajuato, Mexico. And currently I live in Seattle, Washington. I am a program manager for Microsoft. The team I work at is called Identity. And my background, I first was in a community college. After I came to the United States, I learned some English. And then after I was able to pass the college level, then I went to a community college. In that community college, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life and what major to study. So then I explored different classes and took a computer science class there that I really enjoy. And then I decided to transfer my credits from the community college to the University of Washington here in Seattle. I was taking classes in Seattle and in Bethel, which is the two different campuses of UW. And after I graduated from the University of Washington with a computer science degree, then I started applying to everywhere, right? Any place that would take my application. And I ended up taking the offer from Microsoft as a software engineer, as a software developer. So I was initially writing all the code for Identity. And then after some time as a developer, I switched to program management. So Identity is every time you enter your username and password to access any system. You know, so everyone needs to have access to these systems that are so important and so essential to run the school. And more now with COVID, that we are all working from home and doing everything from distance, you need to have access to it, have it in a secure way, and also have the right amount of access. For example, if you type your password, we check the location you are coming from, we check if you just came from Seattle, Washington, and in less than a minute, you are also signing up from Russia. We say, you cannot travel that fast. Maybe that's no Karen. My job is to be the expert on this identity tool that my team of 1,000+ people are creating. So my job is to be the expert on the tool. Then I take our VIP huge enterprises who want to onboard to the platform. I take them by the hand and I show them how to write the code so that they integrate with Microsoft technology. I also go to conferences and I evangelize about the technology. For example, if in South America people don't really know about identity services, then I go to a tech conference. And then in the tech conference, I give a presentation and say, this is what identity services are, so that the enterprises and other companies know, and then they can onboard to our technology. TECHNOLOCHICAS is a campaign that seeks to inspire young Latinas to explore, to consider, and to go into a STEM career. Computer science, besides being cool and being like a puzzle and being a very interesting major, from my point of view, is a well-paid job that gives you flexibility to work from home, to be with your family. It gives you a nice lifestyle. And it's a job that keeps you mentally engaged. I feel it's a great major. And when you're little and with no one in your family have ever considered computer science, you don't know anyone in it, you just don't even consider, right? Having a career in computer science, it has changed my life. You cannot imagine. I really, my whole life I grew up with financial struggles. And no one in my family had gone to college. My mother only finished 3rd grade. And computer science has changed my life. It has changed the life of my parents, of my siblings. It's impacting my family and my community. I like technology. Well, now I love technology. Back then, I liked technology, but I didn't know much about it. I didn't know how things work. What I found is that I took the first computer science class, and then you start questioning how things work, how they interact with each other. And I feel that when you start asking yourself those things, then your curiosity takes you to learn. And then once you understand, then you want to learn even more, because everything starts to fit in and you are making sense of how things work. And when you have the knowledge, it's fun. I consider that I have other skills that usually people in computer science don't have. And the thing is that I can acquire these technology skills, and then I can bring my other skills to the table. So I can bring my ability to talk in public, my ability to talk with customers, my ability to express technology in terms that are understandable to someone who doesn't know technology. And that is something valuable that is often hard to find in the bunch of white males that know computer science. So I might not be the best of the best on knowing every single detail about the operating system, but I can understand it, I can learn it, and then I can communicate it in a way that other people in computer science cannot. Introducing STEM and introducing science and technology is very important. Even if they are not going to go for a STEM major, just getting to know the basics, getting to understand how things work is something that will help them in the future. When you introduce the STEM terms and the technology terms to students when they are older, I feel that some of them might be interested and they might decide to explore more on their own. However, I think that you get the most when the students are introduced to these terms early on. Because, when you are in the early stages, you are not afraid of math, you are not afraid of all these terms. And when they introduce them to you and they make them look fun, and exciting, then you have the curiosity to go through it without so many fears.
My name is Beatris Gandica. I go by Bea. And my background, I'm from Venezuela. I went to school in Wisconsin. I got my master's at the University of Arizona. I work at Microsoft as an engineer and program manager. And I focus on the security space. And what I do is I make sure that the code that Microsoft has in product and services is as secure, as compliant as it can be. And I also help out with teaching kids like yourself to make sure that STEM is an option and that you realize that it's not this abstract thing that might not be for you, because it is. So those are my two passions, the security side and helping others and giving back. The great thing about security is that it's always changing. What can be, what's secure today might not be in the next week, in the next hour. And so the fact that it's constantly changing and you have to keep learning and this concept of growth mindset, and instead of being a know-it-all, you're a learn-it-all. I think that's just awesome. And I really love that about security in technology in general, but in security, the thing is like, we all care for security because none of you would like that the pictures that you're sending or the message that you're sending go to somebody else. If you have enough text with your BFF or a snap with your BFF and then somebody gets to it, you wouldn't like that. So that's what I think security feel it's something cool because we all care about in one way, shape or another. And also the giving back, it's super important because I want to make sure that in the years to come, we can see more colors of the rainbow in the tech field. It's a program part of NCWIT, which is the National Center of Women in IT. And the idea is to have Latina role models to help those Latina teenagers and upcoming grads that are looking to see what the industry is looking like, to have that role model, that somebody else that look like them, that speak like them, that eat like them, eat what they eat. That way you are more confident and you know that you're not alone. And the reason I took into the ambassadorship is I'm a firm believer that you cannot be what you cannot see. And sometimes that's what it takes. For me, it was more, if I can convince one girl that's somewhere and she can see herself in my shoes, that to me is great. And for that, you need some sort of exposure. And that's part of what TECHNOLOCHICAS has been a great success is how do we make sure that regardless of where you are located, you can see that it is possible and that you're not alone. If you're into the sciences or not, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, like coding and computer science in general is going to be so ingrained. It's going to be like taking math. And that's something that we go around when we do events on campus is making sure that maybe not every kid's going to be an engineer. And that's okay. If we had a world full of engineers, I don't think it will be as interesting. So how do we make sure that we get to tell the kids, look, this is what coding looks like, but at the same time, let them know, if you don't get this, if this is not for you, no worries, you try. And for me, the trying part and that you actually can see it, that you can do it, and it's not something that's not for you, that to me is already a win. And then it's like, okay, awesome, you don't go into engineering, great, no worries. What career do you want to go into? And whatever that career is, you can still work in tech. You can be a lawyer and still work in tech. You can go into human resources and still work in tech. So that's and if you see the trends that's happening in the industry, and especially with this pandemic that we're living through, everything is moving into tech and we're relying on tech more than anything. So if you can find that way, that intersection between what you're teaching and what tech can do, I think you have a great opportunity. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but if you're okay with that challenge of kid learning and maybe be a little vulnerable with the students, because I'm sure that there might be some students in your classroom that might already know a bunch of things that will be worth sharing with the rest. Just find that passion. And by passion, I mean, what's that something that you can wait to go and do? That might be playing soccer. That might be playing football. That might be doing something that you really like. So when you can find that something, how can you apply tech to it? If you can try to figure out that tech with what you like, I think you'll have fun. Because if you start, for example, if I think about it and somebody tells me, hey, quantum computing is the next big thing and you have to go into quantum computer. In my head, to me, it's like, okay, but let me understand what quantum computing means. And he said something I like, and maybe not, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But if I know that I don't want my pictures to get stolen by somebody else, and I like that feel, what can I do? Maybe it's security. Maybe you're more into privacy, that you're dealing with the data is going from point to point. What is that thing? And I think you have a huge advantage that you have Google. You can Google anything. And so go and check in there and see how you can tie what you like and tech. And be kind to your teachers. They're trying the best. So just make sure that you try to behave as good as you can. If you get a chance, go and sign up and become a TECHNOLOCHICA ambassador. There are a lot of resources, and there's already a community that you can rely on for advice, maybe for mentorship one-on-one, or maybe just a quick question that you might not have that person in your family or your community that might not be necessarily in the field, whichever field it is, and you just want somebody else that you could trust. There's a great opportunity and a great girls all over the country that can help out.